Hey guys, William Murphy here, and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. In the upcoming video series, I'm going to be taking my attention to this here Mini. This Mini belongs to Alex Toon, and it is a 1275 Mini Sprite. It's an automatic and it has a few little hiccups. So today we're going to investigate the faults, and then in the coming videos I'm going to try and rectify them. So hope you enjoy the series. Let's get stuck in. So in previous videos I have done some work on this car. I fitted a water pump and redone the radiator, did all the hoses. Since then it's had a bit of a overheating fault. So unfortunately what happens is the temperature gauge drops to the bottom, then the fueling adjusts and the car has a sort of severe misfire. It backfires, it pops, it bangs, it loses all power and well, breaks down. So after doing a bit of investigation, both myself and Alex and a few of the other mini YouTubers have given some input. It's looking like the sensor on the bottom of the inlet manifold, which is the temperature sensor, that is reading untrue, and they're quite sensitive, so if they get knocked or banged or anything like that, the chances are that it will break. Now what that sensor is doing is telling the ECU that it's not hot enough, so it's dumping more fuel into the engine, but actually it is hot enough, and yeah, it's fine. That gauge drop into the bottom as well, that's all connected. So that is going to be the first of the faults. Cole from Classic Mini DIY, the stickers here, he borrowed this car for the IMM. It drove down there beautifully, and on one of the days coming back into the IMM showground, it did this fault cutout.
Now, what exactly happened when Alex Toon's engine overheated on me at IMM? Well, for 99% of the drive, it was a-okay, not a single problem, worked like a champ, all the way from Manchester through North Wales, all the way down through Wales, and then back over to Bristol. Literally didn't have any problems for, I'd say, really the whole drive. When it ended up having a problem was when we were idling, getting into the IMM event. Now, if you guys were there, you probably remember it was craziness. Lots of lines, lots of waiting, and Toon's car, as we were sitting there, temperature gauge started creeping up a little bit, and I saw it, but I was thinking, it's probably okay. I flipped on the heater, still wasn't quite enough to keep it cool, and then ultimately it started spitting out coolant a little bit, and that was when I knew that it was time to cut that sucker off. At that point, you guys might have seen in my other video or some of the other videos, the car got pushed in, my dad jumped behind me, and a few folks from the IMM event pushed that sucker all the way into the barn where we had our meet and greet, so that was pretty cool. But while we were there, popped open the hood, Paul Jeffries came over as well as all the other Mini folks and started diagnosing the issue. Ultimately, Paul Jeffries saw it with his keen eye. There were some small oil flakes and oil debris in the actual coolant. You could see that from the radiator cap getting taken off and little flashlight looking down in there. Unfortunately, that generally means that there is a head gasket blown. So at that point, we added a bunch of coolant back to it and basically babied it all the way back to Manchester just to make sure that it didn't get overheated again. We used the heater quite a bit to make sure that the temp stayed down, got it home, so William Murphy could jump in and replace that head gasket, which I'm assuming is what he's doing right now. So hope that helps, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.
So I'm going to be replacing that temperature sensor. I'm also going to do a head gasket on this, and then one of the other faults as well, which I will show you now. That's the fuel pump. It's got a bit of an exhaust blow. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this. Not good. So yeah, hear that tapping coming from the engine bay. Now I believe that is going to be the link between the exhaust manifold and the downpipe, and there's a bit of a join there on the injection models. So let's see if we can have a quick look under the engine bay and see exactly where that fault is. So while the weather's nice, I'm going to take this opportunity to go out for a little drive, get everything nice and hot, and hopefully replicate that fault so we can see exactly what it's doing wrong. Let's go. So, right, the car is now up on the axle stands, or the ramps, but a slight issue, a bit of an oil leak, and that's been in there roughly 2 or 3 minutes, or less than 5 minutes let's say, and that's dripped out already. So that's another thing I'm going to look at while I'm here. The car itself drove beautifully. I've just been around a bit of the countryside. The temperature gauge is, let's see, halfway, which is spot on. And yeah, it's all pretty much good to go. So let's open the bonnet. And let's let the work begin. The temperature gauge has now dropped. Let's see that. The temperature gauge has now dropped. And yeah. Seems to be okay. Let's pick back up now. But the rev's picked up, the engine had a bit of a wobble, and yeah, that's been running now for about 5 minutes, so it doesn't like being sat still. Right, so as I say, the engine's been running for about 5 to 10 minutes now on the ramps. It's getting nice and hot. I've obviously been for a drive as well. I've had one blip, but I've just revved the engine. You can see the engine rock back and forth. So previously we replaced the part of the outside engine setting. While it's apart, I'm going to replace the inside one as well. So then that should hopefully stop that rocking back and forth. Right, engine off, let's get cracking. I am partway through the shutdown of this car. I'm not really been filming a lot of it because I have already done a head gasket video, which I'll leave a link up here. There are a few things different to this car than were to the other one, so I'll just explain them now, and hopefully using these guides you'll be able to work your way through. So, the predominant difference here is the injection system. Pretty much the front of the engine is exactly the same. You've got a few more pipes going to the inlet manifold. You've got lots of sensors and plugs. The sensors, lots of them just push down to release. There's a few over here as well, and they just push down to release. So I've got a feed in to the injection system, and I've also got a return, so they're arrowed on the actual unit itself, in and out. So I had to disconnect those. I've disconnected all the plugs. I've disconnected this throttle return spring, which activates the return here, and it gets to the neutral position. I've disconnected the pipes, which I need to be careful with these because they're very brittle. I removed the air filter box itself, and this is now pretty much ready to come out. Underneath there is another plug, so when I lift this up I can disconnect that plug and have a closer look at this inlet manifold itself. I've just disconnected the pipes from the inlet manifold, so hopefully I can now lift this up and out. I'm going to get access underneath to them plugs. One of them is a push fit, and the other one is a plug. It's just getting screwed over into that to release that. And then on the inlet manifold itself as well, they've got these little spacing rings. I need to make sure that both of those come out. One of them is still in the cylinder head, so that might have to come out when the head's off. Let's get this second plug out. Hopefully then. Oh no, one more plug. And that's the inlet out of the car. Right, so this is the inlet system. You've got your fuel in, goes into the injector system, squirts fuel down into the inlet, into the actual engine itself, and then any unused fuel goes back down the return, back and then to the fuel tank. One of the garages, or one of the people, a few comments that have been said are the tapping noise is probably a damaged inlet manifold. Now I've got it off, I can't see any damage at all, so I'm going to suggest this is absolutely fine, and we're going to be replacing this sensor underneath. So while it's off, it makes lots of sense to do that. So that's that part. I've just removed the heat shield from the exhaust manifold, and in theory that can now come out as well. Okay, and then we have the exhaust manifolds off as well now. This one here has a lambda sensor in it, which I haven't bothered taking out because we have a new one to go in. And it goes a plug and the 3 bolts, and you can see here the black marks, obviously where the exhaust been blowing from. So hopefully that's going to be the tapping noise. Hopefully that's going to be the issue with the blowing exhaust. And yeah, a lot of weight in that as well, a lot of weight. Right, next up, turn my attention to the cylinder head. So this is basically exactly the same as an older style carburetor A series. Got your rockers, and the rockers come off. You've got your head bolts. The head bolts can come off as well. And then, yeah, that's all pretty good. So I just do this, so that's cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and then I haven't got any for 4. So when I take them all off, I know exactly where they go, to save trying to work out where they are in the sequence. I'm going to start stripping all the radiator side down. I'm going to start stripping across the rockers. I've still got to take off that down pipe, but I think I'm going to call it a day here. So yeah, that's it for today. I've removed the inlet manifold and the exhaust manifold. The downpipe to the cat is now been released as well, so it's just one more bolt to get that released, and then that downpipe can come out as well. The rocker cover is off. All the fuel lines and the cables and connectors and stuff are disconnected. The radiator has been slightly drained through the inlet manifold, and now it's a case of just undoing the rockers and removing that cylinder head. But I'm going to call it a day for now because I am exhausted. So thank you guys for watching. If you have enjoyed this content, please click that thumbs up button, comment down below, and if you can, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. Hopefully we'll get this Mini back up and running very soon, and then Mr. Toon can get back to his happy motoring. So let's get cracking on the next episode. I will see you guys very soon.